welcome to Chop Shop Motors. My name is Clay. Today we're doing a hot rod deep dive on a 64 Falcon Sprint convertible. So this particular little car was my first car. So I've had it in the family for a number of years. It has gone through all kinds of different things as I progressed to this point in my life. And so we're going to take a little time, walk around it, and explain kind of what makes it tick. And I think we're going to try going for a test drive, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So background on this little car, this was originally a V8 3-speed. It came red with a red interior originally. And when I got it, this little car had been flipped into a ravine or a bar ditch and salvaged, and a really close friend of mine knew of the car, and his friend was going to save it. So they had done some work to get it partway down the path of being saved. And you have to realize this was a number of years ago. And they decided, he lost interest in it, which lots of projects have that happen. So the car was sitting there, and he bought a Mustang, and they stole a bunch of the parts off of this car to put the Mustang together. So the car was sitting there, and this buddy of mine, who was actually my brother's, a really close friend of my brother, so a little bit older than me, quite a bit older than me, knew that I was broke and hungry for a car. So somehow I ended up getting this car for free. And in the day before the things that we do nowadays, where we have a really nice trailer and we pull it up on the back of it, and you know, we do all the ways that you think of as how you do old projects. This car got drugged to my house behind a 59 Ranchero with a chain, with a pipe over the chain, because the car didn't have any brakes or backing plates on it. So it was a different time and a different way, and it was pretty cool. So the car came to me. It's gone through 4 or 5 iterations, and I'll share a little bit with you of that as we look at it. Window down, or you can keep them up so you can hear it?
I'm gonna have to be window down. I just want everyone to know, if you own a convertible, don't ride with the top down but windows up. It's a pet peeve. Just put the top up.
Well, I haven't had this thing out for a while, so it's good to have it stretch its legs.
Yeah. It's actually kind of a perfect day, even though it's hot. Glad we aired up the tires before we left.
So this little Falcon's done hasn't done any for a while, but it's not afraid to. It's not afraid to run. It's got a current motor is a 289. It's got a pretty low P hydraulic cam in it. It doesn't have a bunch of modifications. I've had more radical motors in it, and they've come and gone, but it runs good. It's got an automatic in it, 8-inch Ford rear end. Nothing too exotic that, especially compared to modern cars, it's pretty mellow, but it sure is fun to drive. So this particular motor is probably the fifth or sixth one I've put in it. For lots of different reasons. Sometimes they just got changed to do something different, or sometimes the last one actually broke a piston, and so this motor got built for it, and it's been in it for the last 5 or 6 years.
Which one was your favorite?
The last motor that was in it ran really, really good. It was 11 to 1 compression, dome piston, pop-up piston, 351 Windsor heads. It really did run good, and but they're all fun. I mean, it's the car that makes it fun. So the one thing I don't love about it right now, and probably the reason that I don't drive it as much, is it's got 68 cleaner disc brakes on it, and disc brakes take a little bit more foot pressure to get them stopped than a drum brake. So I converted it to power brakes, and when I did that, it worked really well, but it's hard to find factory original 64 Falcon power brake parts. So the booster went bad, and I got an aftermarket booster for it, and the brakes have just never really performed the way I wanted them to, and I never felt super comfortable with it. So a long story for my complaint, but I found a new old stock 64 Falcon booster for it, and I've got it in inventory now. So what I'm going to do next as a future project, is I'll go ahead and put the correct booster on it, and then the brakes will be where I want them to be, and it'll be a lot more fun to drive. So that's probably the main story behind why I haven't driven it very much. The rear end that's in it, I've got a factory 64 Falcon rear end for it. This particular rear end is out of a 63 Meteor, and that was because when I got the car, it didn't have a rear end in it, and it's been through a few different rear ends. This is the last iteration, and it works really, really well. It's the same width as the Falcon, so it works fine. Other things that are different about it, I don't know. I mean, the interior, it's had 2 or 3 interiors in it. This last interior is BW upholstery. Put the carpet in it and did the trunk. I got a bought Falcon Connection, I think Falcon Connection wasn't it. I'll have to look, but I got a aftermarket as original upholstery kit for it, and Brian put all that stuff together. Brian put the top on it. I've done 3 or 4 tops on it, and I've done them myself, but the last one Brian did. He did such a nice job on it. So the interior is, looks sharp. The outside, it's been painted for quite a long time now. the last time, and still looks nice. So we just enjoy it. It's been lowered front and back. It's got 2-inch blocks in the back. It's got cut coil in the front, so it probably takes a little bit of the ride away, but I mean, you don't drive a 64 Falcon for ride. So other than that, other things about it.
It used to be blue.
Yeah, it was blue at one point in its life. A couple times I painted it blue, and then the last 2 times I painted it, it went back to a form of red. So other than that, okay, we'll do a quick walk around. Small block Ford 289. If you notice, if you look at the screenshot, it looks like it's dripping a little antifreeze. So I'm glad we did this hot rod deep dive. I got a little maintenance to do on it. So
you can see that or not.
So thank goodness for doing some video. So small block Ford, it's always had one. This was a V8 car, so no changeover needed. It's got a cool oval air cleaner, and kind of goes with the fin valve covers. There's nothing too exotic. Aluminum intake that's been on the car probably since almost the first iteration. This car, because it came from kind of a project that nobody wanted anymore, lots of parts have been replaced on it. So grills and headlight doors and side trim have all been replaced over time with better. As I bought other 64 Falcons, I probably had a dozen or so of these cars, and so if there was one that had a little nicer piece that would go on this car, it got swapped out. It's got a set of GT Torino wheels on it. Because it's got 68 Cougar disc brakes, those wheels will bolt on that disc brake. That wheel won't go on a late, like a Granada changeover, because the hubs are a little different. But on this changeover, the wheels work fine. So it's got the Torino wheels, Sprint emblems, body parts on this car. This left front fender was original to the car. I think that's it. I think I've replaced both doors. I've replaced the hood, grill, bumper, travel guard, the deck lid. It's had some work back here in the rear valence area. Watch your shin. Ooh. Ouch, that hurt, and I didn't even do it. Over here, when I got the car, the top had been up when it got upside down. So at that point in time, when I first turned 16, these cars weren't of any great value. So I found one in a wrecking yard and got all the top bows and everything from it. Interestingly enough, on the inside, one of the really kind of difficult parts to find was the correct bucket seat for it. I had the bucket seats that were in it were upholstery was junk, and so I actually threw them away and put some different bucket seats in it. Typical 16-year-old mistake. So it took a long time to actually find the right bucket seats for it, so that I could well, I'm gonna be going to urgent care with the cameraman hurting himself. Finding the right
focused on my
seats.
job.
Let me get you a helmet. Other than that, all the pieces were the ones that came with the car. Console may have been. I come across a couple consoles, so I used the nicest one. But for the most part, lots of original pieces in that respect. Other than that,
anything that you've done that you learned from over the years?
Everything. So,
like for someone that might have just bought it, a rookie mistake.
yeah, don't throw away original parts. Yeah, I mean, you know, the mistakes I learned on it probably wouldn't apply today, just because when I got the car, it wasn't really worth anything. I mean, somebody who gets one of these cars now, even a Falcon, they still have some value to them. I mean, they're obviously not a Ferrari, but they're still hard enough to get parts for and hard enough to buy that you're going to have some investment. But
what do you think the hardest part was to find a replacement for? Like if it broke or if it got damaged, would you have the hardest time replacing? Yeah.
Well, they produced a lot of the Falcons. The first time I put the convertible top on it, I threw away the piece that goes inside here that the top liner attaches to. So if you look in the back window, you see a black kind of upholstery and little, like, almost a piece that hides it from the trunk. Well, that piece is trim and quiets the noise from the trunk from the inside of the car. That piece has a piece of rod that's attached to it. Well, I didn't keep that piece of rod because I was in a hurry to get the top on and go cruise central. So that piece somehow got lost. It was impossible to find that piece. It took me forever, and I finally stumbled across it. I probably paid 3 times as much as it was worth, but I didn't have one, so it was worth it. Pieces like that are a little hard to find because usually people don't throw them away, but no one to blame but myself. That was the same problem with the bucket seats. I probably could have bought them for a fraction of what I paid for them, dozens of times if I'd have been paying attention. But now I have them. They're not going anywhere. The seats that were in this ultimately ended up in the 64 hardtop, so nothing gets wasted. And you know, the car's fun to look at, fun to drive, and quite honestly, it's the funniest thing. I don't really, I enjoy it, whether anybody else liked it or not. So that's kind of cool.
Like one of those people in like a study that are doing like an intro to a movie or something.
Yeah, this is my study. So Shelby figures I look like I'm in a study. So this is my study. So welcome to my study. Thanks for taking a little bit of time and walking around this 64 Falcon. This is absolutely part of the family. I don't drive it very much, but I'll be sad to see the day if I ever have to get rid of it. So I'm hoping that someone else has to get rid of it for me after I'm long gone. That way I don't have to deal with it. It's a cool car. Thanks for watching. I'm Clay for Chop Shop Motors, and we'll see you on the next project.